everyone. Thank you all for joining us. We are very fortunate to have with us some of the most brilliant and extraordinary poets and spoken word artists in the US today. My name is Aileen, Cassinetto, curator of Power to the Poets, a virtual reading series featuring emerging and established poets of color. Before we begin, just a reminder to please keep yourself muted until it is your turn to speak. And now, without further ado, please welcome my co-host this evening, Amos White, founder at 100,000 Trees for Humanity, climate mobilization strategist, Caro Fellow in Public Affairs, author, poet, arts impresario, civil rights activist, father and husband, based in Alameda, California, who will say a few words. Welcome, Amos.
Aileen, thank you for having me here to co-host this tonight, and welcome everyone. It's so good to see you and can't wait to hear the works that you have prepared for tonight. As this is a period of COVID and protests that we have going on, it's only appropriate that I be summoned away to a protest and rally for Black Lives Matter. I've been asked to give the keynote over here for the first 15 minutes of this reading that we have at the same time. But I'll be on listening for the first 15 minutes as Aileen will introduce you, and I'll be back in. But again, looking forward to a great reading that we're having tonight. So thank you.
Thank you, Amos. And now it is my great pleasure to introduce our first reader, MEERA DASGUPTA, the youngest National Youth Poet Laureate appointed in the history of the country. She is also the first U.S. Youth Poet Laureate to have been appointed from New York, as well as the Northeastern region, and the first Asian American Youth Poet Laureate of the United States. Please welcome MEERA DASGUPTA.
Hi, everyone. So I'm gonna read a few poems, and the first one is going to be something that I read recently at the One Poem Festival for the Academy of American Poets, and I feel like it really speaks to these times and to the protests that are happening. So, my poems as victims of gun violence. This is where my poems go to pen their eulogies. They bleed a black ink and find a casket that blends well with the ground. I do not know if my poems prefer gardenias or roses. The rapid firing of a gun leaves my poems bloated with sudden death, judgment, a narrative in which they don't have a name. America remembers the anniversary of my poem's memorial, lights a candle but forgets that my poems are not love poems. My poems are students tearing up the street in their new Air Jordans, are teachers holding the Big Apple in the palm of their hands, are janitors mopping the floor of the mess that other poems have left behind. My poems aren't bulletproof. My poems bury friends before they bury themselves. My poems sob when dissecting frogs in biology class, have gloves on so the blood can't streak their hands in transaction. My poems love their mamas, still kiss them on the forehead before going to bed. My poem shot a fizzy glass of white privilege before it shot them in the forehead. My poems pray to God sometimes. My poems reread horoscopes. My poems do not pretend to know the future, so they walk to the horizon and stay there. Shatter the sky until their bodies parch the light of their names. Dance in the shadows until they are but one, writhing black mass in the distance. Their death, eclipsing the sun, where they stand. And that is my first poem. And after this, I also want to move on and just acknowledge the people who came before us. And this is a very quirky poem. The title is Yo Mama Jokes. And It's going to go through many historical women figures within our country and this world. And I think it's important to recognize these people who have been trailblazers as well. Yo Mama jokes. Yo Mama Parks manifested a black magic school bus from the backseat of the American dream. Yo Mama Earhart signed a contract with the clouds and stayed there. Yo Mama Googes beheaded the patriarchy before she died in its embrace. Yo Mama Cleopatra died naked in the Nile before she became a queen. Yo Mama Kahlo used culture as a coaster for her canvas. Yo Mama Hurston let God bleed a manifesto off of her 100 tongues. Yo Mama Sappho knew to cook her poems raw. Yo Mama Angelo roasted white privilege on a spit like a squealing pig. Yo Mama Truth exhaled a revolution in pursuit of her name. Yo Mama Curie discovered that women can be radioactive. Yo Mama Tubman embraced the railroad and the soil and the loud that were her limbs. Yo Mama Ride swallowed the stars and grew herself a galaxy. Yo Mama Mirabai twisted her hands in a prayer for a God she did not fully know. Yo Mama Yusufzai found her savior at the back of a bullet. Yo Mama Steinem scorched the earth until nature didn't need a mother but a woman. There is a joke somewhere in this poem, but I can't seem to find the laughter to accompany it. And that is that poem as well. And it's something that I wrote because I thought that we often make jokes about womanhood and just the experience overall when there's so many people who have been so inspirational within our histories and in the nation. So I thought that this poem would pay a homage to so many people who have inspired me. And for another poem that I want to leave you guys off with, it's something that is more meant to be on the page, but I feel like it explains so many people's experiences right now. And even though it's not like a burst of emotion or experience or hand movements, it is something that I feel is so important to so many people around the world and within our nation right now. So I'm just gonna end up with that. It's called Mama with an H at the end. It is a wonder to be a woman at the end of the world. She stooped on the porch, her face steeped in press, the world yawning a eulogy in her name. The crows came first, dressed in the eve of morning. They left their skins to hang on the boulevard, conjuring a sad song out of the wind. Divya was a big-mouthed, bird-like child. She always arrived with skinned knees and a fractured ego, bawling, "Mama, the neighborhood boys pushed me off the swing again." At the time, her mama was the kind of widower whose sole inheritance was the turf of her own body. All buxom and leather-thighed, the world whittled a woman out of her, so she built a storm cellar big enough to house her daughter. By God, she would create a home out of this hostel. But with the changing season, Divya sprung from weed to woman. She swallowed a country and grew herself a wildebeest until the dugout couldn't contain her much longer. "Mama, I'm leaving." The words still paint a fresh wound upon Mama's flesh. The churchmongers, pundits, and well-wishing aunties who come to the crematorium to watch yet another brown girl burn. What a shame. Their eyes scatter her ashes across the subcontinent. Ask a white man to wash the blood off of their callous hands in his holy water. Whispered porch talk on a Tuesday burns Mama's ears. Reminds her that a man took her baby girl away from her. Made her bleed the way only a woman could before dying. "Mama, I'm flying. Yes, baby, I can barely see you in those clouds up there. Push me higher." The memory of broken bones and tire swings rustled the leaves in the backyard. They warned of boys turned men's and tired, burning brown bodies into sweet and sour nothings. In the kitchen, Mama stirs a rusted pot with her aching love handles. She doesn't know whether she can be called a mama anymore with her only daughter laid to rest in an unmarked grave. A proper goodbye costs money in America. But as the water in the kettle boils over, and May's forgiveness thaws the frozen tilapia in the basin, Mama swears up and down, "My baby is still here. Oh God, my baby is still alive, and though the world looks at her a mad woman, Gone crazy in the brain from losing her only child. Mama smiles from the steam rising off of the stovetop. How the mist grazes her face in apology. How Divya's laughter can be heard from the smoke rising overhead, filling the atmosphere with her name. How the heavens call to her. And that's the end, because I know that a lot of people have been coming forth with their stories, and I feel like it's important to uplift their voices as well during this time and in this virtual space. So thank you all for having me, and I can't wait to hear what everyone else has in store.
That was amazing, just amazing. Thank you so much, MEERA. Thank you so much. Our next reader is GREER NAKADEGAWA-LEE, Oakland's 2020 Youth Poet Laureate, who is going into her junior year at Oakland Technical High School and represents the Oakland community through poetry, media, and public appearances. Her first chapbook, A Heart Full of Hallways, was published in 2020 with Nomadic Press. Please welcome GREER NAKADEGAWA-LEE.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for having me here. I'm really honored to perform alongside you guys. I have two poems for you. My first poem is called 4th of July. I have self-inflicted bruises and someone is playing 4th of July music. But I wish they wouldn't. Because who still loves this country so much that they would kiss it at a funeral? That they would dance with it on top of someone's gravestone? And the hissing starts, outside, inside my body. Don't you love your country? The one your ancestors worked so hard to get you to, your childhood home, your dreams of its cities, all the people that you love. But America is also hunting dogs and police picking people bloody off of the vine just because they can. Is negligent capitalism that builds safety nets for billionaires breaking the ground beneath us. There's that hissing again. You love it here. You love it, yes. I love the restaurants in Oakland Chinatown that people still won't go to anymore because they've fallen for snake oil salesman myths about immigrants and disease. Yes, I love looking at the houses in SF that hardly anyone can afford to live in anymore. Yes, I have self-inflicted bruises. Little pitfalls of love for a country that doesn't know how to treat its own people. And I want to have a million holidays for all those little loves. But I don't need even one for this broken place I call home. Thank you. This is my second poem. It's called Dear America. Dear America, what is so hard about calling a rose a rose? About calling blood blood? Police kill an unarmed Black woman in her own home and suddenly murder isn't murder anymore. Suddenly, there's a whole lot of questions piling up about what people deserve. America, can you call a gun a gun? Can you call a child without adding that he was no angel? Can you call a kid even when you kill him for whistling or throwing bread or playing in the park? America, do you know a lynching when you see it? Not since you pretended to close the history books on the KKK have you listened to us talk about the nooses swaying in the trees and not accused us of overreacting. Call it what it is, America. Not just troubling, not a misunderstanding, not a coincidence. Call it a threat on your citizens' lives and then act like it. America, remember tear gas is a war crime when you're using it on your own civilians. Call a rose a rose. Call a murderer even when he has a badge. Call yourself a country that cares more about white traditions than Black lives. And then remember that it's true, America, there are nooses growing in your trees again. America, I'm begging you, don't wait around for the harvest. Thank you so much.
That is truth to power. Thank you, GREER. That's so, so moving and beautiful. Our next reader is JOSIAH Luis Alderete, curator and host of the Latinx reading series, Speaking Axolotel in Oakland, which happens every third Thursday of the month at Nomadic Press Studios. JOSIAH's first book of poems, Baby Axolotls y Old Pochos, is forthcoming from Black Freighter Press. Please welcome JOSIAH Luis Alderete.
Hola, hola familia. What's happening?
Hola, hola familia. So good to see you.
Good to see all your beautiful faces in this Zoom mundo.
Yes.
Aileen mentioned I host the Speaking Echelot series, and one of my biggest thrills last year was actually having the poet Ivan Arguelles come and read. And after the reading, Ivan came up to me and said, "We should do a poetry exchange every morning. I'll send you a poem and you'll send me one." I said, "Oh, sure." You want to know something, man? This veterano has sent me a poem every day between the hours of 6:30 and 8:30 in the morning since November 11th. I have sent him 5. So I'm going to humbly read the 5th one that I sent him to you, and then another poem after that. But this is dedicated to the poet Ivan Arguelles. There are repeated truths that are dichos mumbled by absent-minded gods that end up becoming the constellations in our cielo. There are repeated truths spit out by tenderloin curanderos that end up fitting us perfectly like an old pair of pants. There are repeated truths that are like sad corridos that make us cry every time. There are repeated truths that are man-made heavens we pasted to billboards that are so big everyone just assumes they are part of the sky. There are repeated truths that are a murmur in the seashell, a whisper in el desierto, a vision at the strip mall, a hazy recollection at the crossroads. There are repeated truths written inside birthday, muerte, retirement cards that everybody signs at the funeral or the birth. There are repeated truths like a rewound vida stuffed into a worn out pair of shoes that have walked farther than the patas of restless wooden santos. There are repeated truths that are a creation, myth, action figure. There are repeated truths that are a gift certificate for a religion that you don't really believe in. There are repeated truths that are signs of the apocalypse phone card. There are repeated truths told to us by a nopal abuela con chismes, by an angelito with malas noticias, by a diablo with a forbidden grocery list, by a prophet who got your phone number from a friend of a friend. There are repeated truths told to us by oracles sitting together in the back booth talking shit at your favorite bar. There are repeated truths in the form of a chancla thrown at you by an ancestor across time and space. There are repeated truths in the eternal momento in front of the traffic light. There are repeated truths as we roll the boulder up the hill while Sisyphus takes a smoke break, as we make an excuse to the patron about Quetzalcoatl not being able to make his evening shift this century. There are repeated truths that the dust, the ash off the cuervo's wing. There are repeated truths that bleed our familia's sangre into the cup that America drinks. There are repeated truths of our skin getting reused by an ancestor and our almas recycled by a future relation. The wrinkles remind me of when my tata abuela was young and I was old. There are repeated truths that the sun will rise not as a celestial body, but as a god with bad posture. There are repeated truths that La Luna is made up of the severed parts of Cuyulhuacui. There are repeated truths that the 400 drunk conejos really are 400 drunk conejos. There are repeated truths. There are repeated truths. There are repeated truths. This next one is called First Generation Decolonized Bilinguista. Listen carefully. You have to blur your voice. And you gotta blur your voice because we must be mindful these days, these centuries, these timelines, and we must make the distinction that our mispronunciations are not their mispronunciations. Porque tú sabes, it's a completely diferente thing to mispronounce something because you're trying to colonize it than to mispronounce something because you're trying to get back to it. On one hand, mispronunciations of our histories, our births, our deaths are vital to the illusion of it all around here. So in order to counter that colonized desmadre, talk with a mouth full of abuelitas. Talk out of the side of your mouth that does not speak English or Spanish. If you can get an ancestor of yours to mumble, I would encourage that. Shout inside your rib cage so that the espíritus can hear the echo and find their way back here, so that they can know what kind of place we're in, so that they know which direction we're going. Every day, practice slurring the words that they have given us. Try to smudge their meaning as much as you can. You know, you're really trying to get a tone that allows you to speak to one bone after another, so that eventually you'll have the entire esqueleto in front of you. And without a doubt, it's going to understand what you're saying. Gracias.
So powerful. Gracias, mi amigo.
Gracias.
Gracias.
Aileen, can I say something really quick?
Sure.
But y'all, there's a really important event in San Pancho this 12th. It's Sean Monteroso's block party, created in collaboration with Sean's Familia. So I know every time's precious, but if y'all are in San Pancho and want to support Sean's Familia, it's happening on the 12th of July from 12 to 4 at Holly Park in San Pancho. So Sean's Familia will be there. There's going to be resources for folks that have been victims of police violence, things that you can do, booths. There's going to be safety distancing and all of that. I just posted the flyer on my IG, so if you all can, go by there, show some love and support for that beautiful familia and what they've lost. So, gracias.
Gracias. Thank you. Thank you. Our next reader is April J. Armstrong, a South Carolina-based poet, voiceover narrator, and entrepreneur. The author of the poetry collection, A Glass Mirror. April is also the radio and TV host of Your Oral Diction at Black Love Poetry Series. Please welcome April J. Armstrong.
Can we hear me now? I'm here. Hello, all. Hello. Good evening. How are you? Yes, I am poetess April J. Armstrong. Very, very humbled and blessed to be here. Thank you, Aileen, for allowing me to be here in the platform. I am co-CEO of Black Love Poetry Series Network, where Black Love is all love. We have 8 shows at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 days a week, so you can catch us anytime. But I am host of Your Oral Diction, where an author's written word is orally heard. I invite you to come with me Monday, August 3rd, to the grand opening of Your Oral Diction Academy. So please, I hope you all tune in, and I hope I have some beautiful people here with me who will come to the platform as well. But I guess let me get into my poem. This is a trilogy. I am part 1. This is Emmett Till, Blood on My Hands, from the perspective of Carolyn Bryan Donham, the white lady, the accuser of Emmett Till. Over 50 years ago, I lied. This young man died, and here I am still trying to find some type of remorse to exhibit. But invoking this lecherous spirit, my deceitful candor still inhibits me. See, yes, back then I told those men that that boy had touched me, had wrapped those innocent hands around my waist, drew me close to his face and asked me, baby, can I have a taste? Wait, I don't think he said that. As a matter of fact, he wrapped his hands around my waist. Wait, what happened next, you asked? Well, let's talk happenstance. I was alone, minding the store that night. Now, imagine my startling fright when this slick young nigga walked in. I couldn't help but to begin to fantasize of all the illegal sins that boy could place my body in. But here's these men sitting, listening to me tell my propagated story. See, little did I know the pain of my words would birth his life after signing his death warrant. Now seeking atonement before death's door, because my recollection of what happened at the store landed that boy's corpse at the bottom of the Tallahatchie. 3 days of obvious abuse and pain was the only unrecognizable trace left on his face. When his mother kept the casket open, we bared witness to the reality of white privilege, because that nigger boy stepped out of line, condemned to die for the crime of whistling at me, a white lady. That boy didn't get tried by 12, but carried by 6, because he stood by the chocolate candy case, waiting for me, licking those thick lips. He teased me by touching my hand, caressing my senses with his northern swag. But I couldn't tell these men that, how I was digging that 14-year-old fine crackerjack. Had to give them what they wanted to hear. This nigga thought he was big city. They was happy to show how they do in good old Mississippi. Forced from his bed, laid a shot in the head, weighed down, ball wrapped around his neck, left for dead. The court applauded without road interruption. Exhilarated at the boy's unheard rage, his cries weaved through more of my lies, but please, I didn't know that nigga would be mutilated after my fabricated innuendos in the store that night. One night. Because I need you to understand, nothing that boy did could ever justify what happened to him. But it wasn't my fault. I never asked for this. Not when I told my husband this boy had offended my delicate sensibility. Hear the reality of how I wanted this cute young cat to bend me over and blow my back out. Show me how to do all the foul things I imagined he said. More fantasies, making me want to break free of racial lines to get mine. Never knew my husband and his friend would take this boy's life in his hands, enjoy the execution of best laid plans, and come home to a hot meal and warm bed. But I didn't really remember what happened that night. Just that nigger boy gave me a startling fright when he walked into my store. In my mind, I heard nasty movie lines, but nothing that boy did could ever justify what happened to him. So yes, here I lie in my deathbed, praying for absolution. When I sat on the stand, those 12 white men didn't care I perjured myself to save face because they rolled out their southern taste of justice in this fixed case. Still, nothing that boy did could ever justify what happened to him. Now, after all this time, I'm telling you I lied. All those unwanted advances never happened. At least, not as bad as I said they did. I mean, I was just a 21-year-old kid. Here that boy came and gave me some excitement in his quiet, relentless pursuit of me, showing his conquest off by whistling in front of his boys. It cheapened our moment, ruined the fantasy, but nothing that boy did could ever justify what happened to him. But now, opening old wounds, I hear the pain, but my ears fall deaf to a mother's sorrow for burying her child. A Black nation's belly gutted, still no remorse. Not once have I uttered an actual apology for the record. And after all this time of telling this lie, have I never mentioned that boy's name. Till next. Peace.
Wow. Wow, April, you really brought it tonight. Thank you. That was powerful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Our next reader is Bernard Collins, a visual artist and faculty member at Fleischer Art Memorial in Philadelphia. He is also a spoken word artist whose humorous style harkens back to the toasting traditions of African American culture seen in poems like The Signifying Monkey or Shine. Please welcome Bernard Collins.
Oh, I have to wow, you know when you select poems, sometimes it's like a poem speaks to you and it's like in response to that last poem that I heard, I'm gonna read this poem that I read just a couple nights ago. Southern trees bearing strange fruit, blood on the leaves, blood on the roots, black bodies swinging on the southern breeze, strange fruit hanging from the poplar tree. The hot orange light embraced the empty cross like a kidnapped African clinging on to the memories of the home from which he was ripped away. Burning wood sends solemn smoke signals into the mind, striking a sour chord in the souls of every black man, woman, and child within striking distance of a slave owner's vengeance. The message was clear: a nigger slave must hang tonight. White linen clad American citizens salivated as the bloodlust grew thick within their hearts. Christian soldiers with shotguns, blood-stained hands, and clear consciousness, kicking down the doors of those with no remorse, with no recourse. They searched desperately for their victim, knocking over who they could because they could. Black men, emasculated once more, stood silently, fearful that they could be a likely replacement. Slogans of self-proclaimed superiority filled the air like poison gas. Black families could only stare at their nightmares as their nightmares stared them in the face and smiled with teeth as rotten as their intentions, pain, anger, helplessness, tension, until the head redneck pushed the teenage boy through the doorway, proclaiming to the crowd that he had proudly found his man. Teardrops rolled down the hairless and filthy cheeks of a frightened captive. His family didn't need to call the police. At least some of them, they were right there under those pristine cotton sheets. The angry mob had found his sacrificial lamb to be offered up to the god of ignorance, arrogance, and entitlement. Sadistic pleasure and self-righteousness made the crowd drunk. There was only one acceptable verdict tonight. Blessed white children giggling as the rope is fitted around his neck. Spit drips into an open wound, making him wince with pain. Pictures are taken in between the whippings. His face is battered beyond recognition. He approaches his murder site like Jesus without the sense of purpose. He wondered if the savior that can't save him from this is really white. His hands are bound behind his scarred and bleeding back. The ropes break his skin. They're tied so tightly, yet he saves his tears, the only thing he can call his own. He wonders about his mother, his hands clenched into a useless fist. Once again, leather whips pierce the air. The skin between his shoulder blades part like the Red Sea. The warmth of the stream flowing saturates the tattered cloth that was his shirt. A white woman watching gasps as he smiles at her. He prays that there is a hell. For some reason, the crowd finds something funny. He notices that he has wet himself. Blood has started to fill his lungs, so he can't laugh along. A year ago, a 3-year-old mispronounces the word nigger as she throws a stone. She was given it by her father. He once again prays there is hell and wishes all his transgressors a swift and direct trip to his caretaker. Or maybe he thinks this is hell. a creaking sound, and he is no longer on solid ground. So that's the first piece. It's called History, but I felt I wanted to do it from that as a response to that wonderful poem that was just read. So I'm going to go into this next one, which is totally different, and I wrote it today, and it's about the whole Aunt Jemima being taken off the pancake box, right? And you know, things that there is a connection, right? So here we go. Finna break that ass with her, finna break that fast with her thick black ass. Got a rag-free head, but she's so ingrained in the past. Been showing off her magnificent hiney since the year 1890. Every bite is happy, fine, and light. Not too light. Wouldn't want your mammy mulatto or white. In 1917, they found an African queen, aka Nancy Green, that would fit the packaging just right. Even had to create her own syrup, because that Uncle Ruckus drizzled on her hot cakes was a little too thick and sweet. Bet the thought of fame made her warm inside, like a hot buttered bowl of cream of wheat. Bet that Rastus was well hung and smart enough not to get hung. He seemed like a breakfast brother that knew his place. Somewhere down the line, he must have stepped down the line, because in the 1920s, he was replaced. America still stuffing cream of wheat in his face. Gone are the days of the well-behaved, docile, domesticated house slave, breastfeeding the master's children while hers starve and her owners stare. The trademark, then trademarked the face to market breakfast products everywhere. A tasty reminder of 400 years of being treated unfair. Aunt Jemima image may be the remnants of that mammy, but at least she ain't providing the dairy. You want some pancakes? I'm making from scratch. Serve warm and delicious. Get praise from every stack. Maple syrup, melted butter, it'll knock you out your socks. Make your own, sell them if you want to. Just keep me off the damn box. So that's my offering, my new offering. And I want to do this dirty politics, dirty politics, dirty politics. I read it before, but I want to read it once more. It's because one, we voted in the primary, yay for us. You should vote. You should vote. I believe that you should vote. It's the one thing that they try and take away every year. Every year we have an election. The lines get longer. You know, the lines get longer. There's always more problem. They're throwing away ballots. Why? Because their vote is a powerful tool. That vote is a powerful tool. So this is dirty politics. All right, dirty politics. It's hard not to get sucked in by this obscene political scene, bastard child of politics and pornography. Voyeuristically, we peek through glass glory holes, aka our boob tubes. Pseudo smartphones playing clips of pseudo smart politicians, giving all they got, giving us that mental money shot, filling us with a need to understand reality we most likely will never touch. The same type mentality that made our housing bubble bust. It's a downright dirty concept. A sure enough filthy script. You see it in their actions. You hear it on their lips. Readily, steadily, we salivate, knowing damn well we can't participate in this surreal reality show, but we let them penetrate and allow that rhetoric an opportunity to flow, stroking our egos like a pro. They know on election day they can depend on their bottom hoe voting against common sense, not to mention their best interest, willing to take one for the team, at least as the reality raises from the depths of your self-deception and bites another chunk out your American dream. And every 2 and 4, you beg for more, stupid as it seems. Ignorance and ideology keep you quiet, like a ball gag lodged deeply in your face, handcuffing you to the bedpost as the object of your affection robs your place. seems commonplace to get screwed by some politicians and no flowers, no dinner, no 40 acres, no mule. Fool, drop them drawers and assume the position. I guess it must be the way we dress. Go ahead, confess. The shiny, pimped out things had thoroughly impressed, sleazy, intellectually easy, and quick to undress, unwilling to open your mind and use protection. That's election after election after election after election after election. Thank you. Peace.
Thank you so much, Bernard. That was truly, truly powerful. And now Amos is back. Amos, would you like to introduce our next poet?
Our next poet is Shanelle Gabriel. Shanelle has toured internationally and is known for both opening and featuring on HBO Def Poetry Jam alongside Jill Scott. She's also shared the stage with artists such as Talib Kweli, Nas, Dave Chappelle, and more. Shanelle was spotlighted on The Rachel Ray Show and was named one of 8 millennial feminist poets that deserve recognition by BET.com, and a powerful indie artist activist you should know by Blavity.com. Shanelle was selected to curate a series of poems for Fast Company's magazine's 2019 European Innovation Festival at the Gucci Hub in Milan, Italy, and was the subject of a mini documentary on the Lifetime Network regarding her battle with lupus. She presently resides in Brooklyn. That's in New York, y'all. For links to her music and poetry and to check her out further, check her out at SHANELLEGABRIEL.com. Please put your hands together and welcome Shanelle Gabriel.
Hello, hello, good evening. Hello, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are in the United States and abroad. Thank you so much for having me here. So I have a couple poems for you. I'm going to piggyback off of the last poem that was read. Thank you, Bernard, for that, because you spoke about voting. And the thing that I've been doing during this time of reflection is writing inspired by memes and video and film. So ekphrastic poems, there you go. I had one that was talking about Atlanta's voter suppression that happened there, and I wrote this piece for it. So I'm going to share a couple short pieces and then a longer piece. And they find old ways to force me to vomit the democracy that warmed my belly. They find old ways to shatter my windpipe without a rope, stifle my vote. Their ballot machines fail, but somehow their guns never jam. Technology seems to side with only one party, the red side that finds the red lines that can ensure that they can paint the country Republican. And what's an investigation without restitution? We know there's a problem, thanks for the acknowledgement, but where's the solution? And to those who sit in abstention, pay attention. History has taught us that if massa holds it back from you, it's because they know it can make you powerful. Thank you for letting me share that piece really quickly. Yeah, a couple little shorter pieces, but definitely please make sure, we can't say it far enough, vote, and not just vote, make sure we hold the people that are running accountable for this. So with that said, I got one more, well, I guess I could, yeah, I can do this, one more short poem and then a longer poem. So this poem was actually inspired by a picture of, I think it was maybe that same weekend, that first weekend where the streets were literally ablaze and there was a police van on fire and a crowd of people around it. And definitely, of course, while we don't condone violence, definitely understanding the anger that was in the city. And I wanted to write a poem about it called Fire. This is brimstone, the black of a burning city, the echo of a hollow system. This is a cloud of desperation. This is unheard pleas, torn clothes, standing prostrate in protest. This is Adam handing me his broken rib. The ache of our scorn surrounded our hearts. This is police funneling their fruit down our throats. We can't breathe, we choke on tears. Cracked bones against batons and bullets, knees and neglect. This is the hurt of centuries of Black mothers praying their babies will never learn the taste of their own blood. This is fire, the only element that cannot be contaminated, and we will consume this city. All right, so thank you so much for sharing. Let me share that. So I have a longer piece that I want to share to all my educators out there. It is so beautiful to see more conversations around culturally responsive education, education that thinks about the young people that are in the room. And I've never been a full DOE teacher, but I've been a teaching artist. And one thing that I've worked in administration in schools, and one thing that was interesting, I called one of the children that ran by one day. I was like, oh, my babies are acting foolish today, just being silly. And the teacher said, oh, you should not call them your babies. That is ageist. And I realized that was maybe a cultural misconception, but I figured I'd write a poem, and the poem is entitled "To the Teacher That Told Me I Was Wrong for Calling My Students My Babies Because It's Ageist." Great title. Maybe you didn't grow up in a world where all adults had the ability to straighten you up, where if Miss Brown down the block saw you wildin', you'd get hemmed up, and you were shook then because you knew your mom would get a call and you'd come home to a whooping. Now, I don't condone violence, I'm just saying. Communities did the raising. The people around me were extended family. They called my dad long before they think to call the police. That love of our other people's children has been instilled in me, our people's history. So when I see any child or teen, I call them my baby. A reminder that they have a mind so fragile, a stage developmental, an unfinished chapter, a title not given. I call them my baby. And there are worse things to be called, like stupid, like rude, like left back, like ghetto, like too black, like not white, like no child left behind, like they're still being left behind, like you can't, like you won't, like you're never gonna, like you can't sit still, like special education, like ADHD, like can't pay attention to your whack lessons, like how you manage your trauma shows schools who does and doesn't have the right to learn, like behavioral defiance disorder, like they won't behave because you won't listen, like pull yourself up from your bootstraps, even though we won't give you shoes, like even if you try, you will find something to be used against you in the principal's office, in the courtroom. There are worse things to be called, like 911, like no second chances, like no one cares about your circumstances, like you are the problem and not the symptom. Like the school has methods of discipline, but the police need to be involved. Like there are worse things to be called, like criminal, like being born Black is a crime. My babies get jailed while kids get counselors in the suburbs and get labeled a foreshadow of handcuffs and bars. What you can call a child, what you call a child can hurt. And I may not have the stretch marks, but I have the worry lines. Wonder if the snacks in my desk will help Justin get through the night. If my students will trip on their low self-esteem and trip into the school to prison pipeline. If Coogee defending herself on the block will lead to an assault case. If Ade will be blamed for spectating along the destructive path that Will has decided to take. If Patricia will listen to me or the other teacher who says her college essay is a waste. If Reggie didn't lose his Metro card, I'm worried if Reggie didn't lose his Metro card because he'll risk another arrest and $100 fine just to make his curfew. That Timothy's choice to stop selling won't lead to a family eviction when rent is due. These adult decisions, these youth have to choose. And I don't know why I'm confused why you would conclude that my affectionate term isn't approved when you have the same reasoning used by cops who called Tamir Rice's 12-year-old body a grown man. Maybe if they saw him as a juvenile, his toy gun wouldn't have been called rifle. I'm preparing my children for people like you who think who they are in your classroom is all they'll ever be. A stereotype, a statistic, an IEP, a record, an arrest, as if context shouldn't be included in sentences. People like you who call a group of Black teens a gang while I call them a constellation, and you call them cups to be filled with grammar lessons and equation, but a mama's job is to prepare her children to exist in this civilization. So hell yeah, I'm going to love them like I push them out, as I push them in to spaces that won't readily welcome them. Many times a child's growth requires birth pains, hurt wrongly aimed like initial contractions. Hope they get the lesson, but it's a waiting game. See, our children have been called everything under the sun except their given name. Blamed for being put in boxes on a conveyor belt to fill prisons for financial gain. They deserve a safe space where they can fail sometimes, make mistakes, be corrected but not thrown away. And you can call them what you choose. And you'll be one of the many things they'll be proud to say they overcame, because you can't conceive the goals they'll reach. And my babies know their mama will throw down on anyone like you getting in their way. Thank you so much for allowing me to share that poem with you. I appreciate you having me. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. That was so powerful. That was fire. Thank you, Chanel. Our next reader is Ambition, the poet Harper. A poet, workshop instructor, entrepreneur, and author of From the Tongue of a Foster Child. He lives in Sicklerville, New Jersey. Welcome, Ambition.
Wow, 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 wow. My name is Ambition the Poet. It's really not my name. It's more like a banner. So when you say my name, you think about what's deep down the side of you. A strong desire to meet one goal, hoping that you'll be better this year than you were last year. I'm going to take you on a foster care ride, and then we might do a poem at the end. We'll do something black. This is Revenge of the Foster Kid. Woo! This is Revenge of the Foster Kid. Woo! This is Revenge of the Foster Kid. Woo! This is Revenge of the Foster Kid. I am not a crackhead. I am the son of a crackhead. How do I find the person that sold to my mom so I could come crack and say, woo? I mean, how do I find them? I research his birth, I could find them. So me and my niggas can act like we need to work and go condom. On the block doing 60, shoom, come down the block doing 60. How could he sell to my mom when she looking frail and she about 60? This is the night of my life that I think I'm going to have to get busy. See, this is the pain of a foster child. So this night I'm going to get busy. See, he is the master. My mom is the slave. The cotton's the drug. And this is the way these people get paid, okay? See, the whip is the stress. Overdose is the noose. And rehab is Harriet Tubman trying to help all the slaves loose. Goddamn. So what do I do when I find the person that's helping my mom commit suicide and I know it for certain? This is Revenge of the Foster Kids. This is the poetry version. I do this for all the foster kids, and I know they still hurting. See, my soul's on fire. I feel like I'm napalm. I was so crusty. I was so dirty. There was no soap and no Avon. My adoption papers said that I was eating the crayons. My adoption papers said that I was eating the crayons. So I tie your mush. I take them down to the basement. This is for all of my pain and all of my blood that spilled on the pavement. What happened to him? I'll leave that to your imagination. I used to write stories like that of revenge on the drug dealers and the people who sold to my mom. And I would tell my therapist these things in therapy. I wanted to give y'all a vision of what it's like being a foster kid in therapy. And they would ask me questions like, how do you feel? I hated foster care. It felt like an Airbnb app for my poverty kids, except for you can't give 5 stars to abusive parents and you can't give tips to a roach-infested house. And I hated my used clothes. You can still smell the 6 people that wore it before me. Now, there's something about hand-me-downs. You can still feel the disappointed souls that cried on the collar. And I hated my sneakers. They always had that lean. They needed the grandma cane. I always wondered why Foot Locker never accept Medicaid. You are now listening to the stories of a foster child. They asked me how I feel about my mother. Well, therapist, life gave me an epidural in my tongue so it goes numb every time we're talking about birthing our relationship. Now, how am I supposed to feel about a woman that left me to die? It would look like I'm that crumpled up birth certificate you trying to find when you finally trying to get your passport. You are now listening to the stories of a foster child. My therapist was asking me, what about your siblings? I would say, well, my skin started to crawl. My brother told me he had to drink out of the back of a toilet, and what black boy in America should try to quench your thirst the same place where he emptied his guts? That's yuck. Doc, I think we should shut this session down. We're starting to tap on the monsters been snoozing since my childhood, waking them up with 3 shots of espresso, letting them snort a couple lines of pre-workout powder. And my mom, she always said there was a little boy inside of me playing with matches near his forehead. He thinks the only way he could get rid of his memories is by setting his skull on fire. You are now listening to the stories of a foster child. Now, going through foster kid, I still had some issues with being Black. And so before I go, I just want to tell you what it's like to be Black. Will I be killed by a Caucasian cop who believes that the back of my cell phone is a rubber grip of a Smith & Wesson and his trigger finger's a little bit itchy, but there's not enough lotion to calm the irritation of his hatred? What it's like to be Black? Or will I be killed by a Black dude who perpetuate hate on his mixtapes and bullets is the only way he can express himself physically, and he's not scared to go to jail? You know, they give the best parties for niggas that come home from jail better than the nigga that graduated from Lincoln or Cheney. What it's like to be Black? You know, my one friend says she really likes braids. She says, but in corporate America, anything outside of bundles, perms, or relaxers will have your white coworkers at the water cooler. Like, we really like your hairstyle today, but are you into Greek mythology because your braids? It reminds us of Medusa. What it's like to be Black. Did y'all know that the bleaching cream industry is 10 to 20 billion? Goddamn. That means that somebody believes that God has a retina issue. They believe he probably should enroll into the Art Institute of Philadelphia because when it comes to painting, he sucks, especially when mixing the dark shades of brown. See, there's probably somebody in this room hating the pigmentation right now. What it's like to be Black. I wanted to date this white girl, I did, but I knew Black girls would give me stares that remind me of the 60s on the Alabama sidewalk. That's why I'm looking around in 2020 like, damn, Black and white people, should we still be drinking from separate water fountains? I mean, what it's like to be Black? You know that there's some girls in my race that give me accolades for buying $300 pair of Jordans, but they laugh at me if I spend $300 on a conference ticket to learn how to brand and market my own products like Michael Jordan. What it's like to be Black. Listen, yo, I come from the birds. When you go to the hood, they told me, he said, look, B, when you come here, you better act poor. Don't act like you have more. I said, why? He says, because there's a nigga named Tate-Tat, and he'll put something shiny to the back of your head, and that's not a silver comb for your peasy ass hair. What is it like to be Black? My friend asked me what it's like. I said, you got to watch Jackie Robinson. You'll hear the racial slurs over the baseball plate, but now they come over the internet. That burned the red stitching on a 100 miles per hour baseball. What was I supposed to say, y'all? What it's like to be Black? And then some people try to play me because I come from the burbs. They said that you don't really have a Black card. I never knew you could put your race on a piece of plastic and then put that into your wallet. You see, I thought being Black meant your ancestors was drug over here naked, as splinters slid into the back of their skin as they rolled on the bottom of a slave ship. What it's like to be Black. Thank you.
Ambition, you are phenomenal. Thank you so much. Thank you. Our next reader is Antonio Lopez, an East Palo Alto native and PhD student in modern thought and literature at Stanford University. He holds degrees in African American Studies and Modern Middle Eastern Studies from Duke University and the University of Oxford. His debut collection, Hentification, won the 2019 Four-Way Books Levi's Prize in Poetry and is set to be published fall of 2021. Please welcome Antonio.
Can everybody hear me? Thank you very much for Aileen and everyone to be here. Wow, GREER, MEERA, JOSIAH, everyone here. Ambition killed it. I mean, it's an honor to be a part of such a wonderful collective, such soul-fulfilling words in these times. So I'd like to offer you mine. I'm going to read 3 poems. So before I start, when we talk about literature, we talk about canon. And canon just means like the thing to measure, and it's the thing that you read historically white cis men. But actually, the word canon comes from a religious phrase, meaning to make a saint or the yardstick to which to measure, right, for a thing. And so I thought, what if I made the homeboys that grew up as saints, and what if they were part of the canon? So this poem is called The Disciples of San Mateo County, California. The Disciples of San Mateo County, California. And God said to Juventino, perform ablution over the bathroom sink. Press the cold metal with novice palms. Stretch out your double white tee, the cotton bullet-proof vest, where upon stepping in the schoolyard, you'll face juvenile punches. Brace the iron gates with knockoff Cortezes. Cuff your sagging dickies by the ankles. Saunter through the cracked voices of boys who laugh without a tag for their toes. Unzip your brother's fur jacket and take father's flask. Drink from his Patron. Shadow box the heavy gavel swings with swigs of your own. Cleanse yourself in liquor's kerosene. Let flammable spirits purge all nerves. To be an acolyte, embalmed in hair gel, worshipping the altars cordoned off in caution tape is sainthood. Obviously, I'm coming from, a tradition where we mix language, where I grew up in East Palo Alto, incredibly multiracial, multilingual place. It should be a case study for all civil rights, classes where we understand how race and inequality and education, how they affect school kids. And obviously over time, part of what poetry makes it so powerful is that you start to realize this language doesn't just hurt you, but it can heal you. And there are ways you can mock the thing that hurts you. But I think that process takes time. So I'm going to read to you a poem that's a bit kind of quirky, but so I want you to imagine a conjugations table. When you're learning a language, the way that you structure it is that you have these tables. So it's like I, you, they, we, and you learn how the verb conjugates and it changes. So this conjugation table is of my tia's back. Conjugations of my tia's back. Ella. Ay, mi espalda. Ay, mijo. No, ya comí, gracias. Lo sobo. Y sobo. Y sobo. Quisiera regresar a México con estos dedos de cloro y grasa de torta. Y no me han llamado del consulado. Que hay acá para mí. Yo fill a chipped white bookshelf con the Republic y Madame Bovary y ay, her back hurts. Debate the line break, perfect its vertebrae, healthy columns. I said her back hurts. Craft exercise 1, use chiasmus. I workshop, they shop for work. In this poem, 4 Mexicans have already offered to fix the stanza's roof. Drywall all negative space. My tia breaks the line, asks for work comp. Craft exercise 2, use irony. Her name's Dolores. Nosotros saw 3 Mexicans at the bus stop. 2 were neon green, orange cones attached to their limbs. They fight la vejez like a cement mixing truck. The guy who picked me up at Reno played Santana, and I cashed in my affirmative action when he waited an extra 6 minutes for my baggage to arrive. La novia says, when I cut my hair to a 0, I look 35% more Chicano. Adds an extra 10 if I put on a purple plaid shirt. What if you button up the top? Girl, don't even start. Saw 37 Latino men blending Duke's 1300 plus class of 2016, and I thought of the invisible man seen at Liberty Paints plant. 10 drops of neon chemical for our white so white. Papa asked if she needed extra pillows for her back. 9 free hours now. La llena con preguntas con, ¿qué quieres que te prepare, amor? She shuffles tostada brands, lava el apio twice, squeezes la tortilladora, the palm pressed silver kept from Cortez, and the boss just laid her off. Ustedes, tan learned, tan pinche learned. Apa, it's learned, no que es learned. Si es, pero aquí pronounce the extra ED. Ay, puto inglés. In this context, pinche means fucking, well, not like fuck exactly, not like in a sexual sense. Tiene más que ver con exasperation, con estar desesperado, that you feel the need to understand everything in this poem. De Dolores, cruzando la frontera, 3 días sin comer, sin agua, sin sin. Su historia is bombed in the mahogany varnish of our 11 p.m. dinner table, and it will die if I don't write it. And her back hurts, hijos de la chingada. Tú will spend 3/4 of the time commenting on the use of bilingualism. Maybe this line is too aggressive, as if no other aspect of craft existed, as if this poem is too ethnic, like ethnic. Maybe you should throw some German, quote Nietzsche, or Herzl, or Sartre, or Levis. Is this poem smarter now? Can it be an expat too? Can it be abstract too? Can it be too? Can you fix her back? ¿Qué piensas? ¿Qué has pensado? All of these centuries, the tú is informal. And thank you very much for this final poem. I'm going to read to you a piece that haunts me to this day in terms of the issues that we're still fighting in lieu of Black Lives Matter and how long this has truly been but thinking about how this persecution affects not just Black people, but brown people and Native Americans and other minoritized groups, and more importantly, how we as people of color internalize that structure and the ways that we hurl it against each other. So this poem is preceded by an epigraph. The murder of a teenage Muslim girl beaten and killed by a bat-wielding motorist near Virginia Mosque was likely a road rage incident, not a hate crime, U.S. police said, prompting outrage from many who say the teen was targeted because of her religion. Darwin Martinez Torres, 22, has been arrested and charged with Nabra Hassanin's murder in an incident police say began as a road dispute with a male teenager who was among Hassanin's group. Al Jazeera, June 20th, 2017. This poem is called Which Cobija Feels Most Comfy, a letter to Nabra. Assalamu alaikum, sister. The paper said road rage. Your death has no more taxing than a busted taillight, like when they said Deya, Yusur, Razan were a parking dispute. Hermanita, I've spent the past 4 days whispering your name with hands cut by the blades of grass that pillow your hair, with hands willowed in dua. But my palm lines fled further to trace their ancestry elsewhere across the Atlantic to the birth of a nation's nation where the ghoulish white hood of a van drove into Finsbury Park shouting, I want to kill all Muslims. And for the first time, I saw an Islamic extremist, Imam Mohammed Mahmoud, protects the suspect from the mob and issues an anti-Western fatwa. We pushed people away until he was safely taken by police. Imam Mahmoud, who professed to Sky News, I am no hero, but then who is ours? Ya Allah, I beamed for a DC Comics sedan to call some student a superhero, but there's no star-spangled shield to guard your glasses and Jannah-gated smile because Captain America wasn't made for you. No Wonder Woman to deflect blind-eye bat swings with a buckle of 8 carats. Sister, let me still pay for next year's prom dress. A mermaid lavender, so after iftar, I'll sip chai and hear the disputes of uncles slamming hairy-knuckled gavels. Astaghfirullah, there'll be boys drinking, your father will interrupt, and me. Let me stand over the Mexican minarets of Univision, and Telemundo, and La Pinta, and the bus stop, and La Clínica, and the good bench at recess, and tell el pueblo, mi pueblo, to enshroud you in our finest cobijas. Those linens not even hawked at flea markets. Let me quietly clean tu cuerpo over el agua nacida de la barranca, the river mountaintops to see the heights my people could have soared for you. Let my apology take a lifetime, take my lifeline, hang on this letter. Why must this land learn Arabic names at the 8 o'clock news? Why must Sister Aileen write a Facebook post warning Muslimat to drive in groups in broad daylight? Why couldn't you finish Ramadan first? Why? This poem is called 17 Words, One for Every Year You Were Given. All I know is that every Muslim in America by morning became an atheist to American progress. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Antonio. That was truly breathtaking. Thank you. Our next poet is SHIKHA MALAVIYA, the author of the internationally acclaimed Geography of Tongues, former Poet Laureate of San Ramon, co-founder of the Great Indian Poetry Collective, Sangam Arts Mosaic Fellow, TEDx speaker, and 2020 Poetry Judge of AWP Kurt Brown Prize. Her work has been nominated for the Pushcart Prize and has appeared in Plume, Prairie Schooner, and elsewhere. She currently lives in the San Francisco Bay Area. Please welcome SHIKHA MALAVIYA.
Thank you so much, everybody. I just want to say I am so honored to be in the presence of such powerful words and people. And thank you so much, Aileen, for this. And you all inspire me, really, to all of you. Thank you. I'll be reading a mix of poems that inhabit the landscape of the United States and India, where my family comes from. So the first poem I'm going to read is in a way my response to why Columbus Day should be Indigenous Peoples Day. What happens when men never ask for directions? He sails west but thinks east, knocking down signs when the sun blinds his eyes, screaming Indio as he spots a lip of land and lobes of gold. It is the 9th day, and the natives smile, tanned skin, white teeth, gifting him cotton and parrots, trained to chant, Colombo, Colombo, night and day. On the journey back home, the parrots drive him insane, squawking his name, no cloves, no silk, just the sun in his eyes, warm body stored in the ship's hull in crooked lines, as royal promises burn through a magnifying glass, setting all maps afire. And the next poem I'm going to read is, it's actually surprising that I really didn't know about the father of gynecology, J. Marion Sims. And when, you find out that history of where things come from, like the speculum, where we go for our, pap smear, where these things come from, how they're invented, it just shocked me back into reality. And so this poem has 2 titles: Why They Removed a Statue from Central Park, or What They Don't Teach You in Medical School. He apologizes for his cold hands as I look up, my legs in stirrups, a steel duck-shaped speculum prying my cervix open, waiting for the long swab to screen for cancer or other abnormalities. As I squirm in my uncomfortableness, I remember how this came to be: a white doctor in 19th century America, known as the father of modern gynecology, who treated colored women, calling his home a hospital of experimentation instead of a lab of horrors, claiming to be a man of compassion, and that all he did was in the name of medicine. Dr. James Marion Sims poked and prodded over and over again women acquired by purchase, perfecting tools and techniques, doing and undoing, stitching, scraping, and cutting, pushing down on their wombs, hands inside their privates, which he claimed his own, asking, where does it hurt? And then this next poem, my poems are kind of small, so my next poem is actually based on a conversation I had with one of my closest friends who is Muslim, and she's an American citizen, but when the Trump administration's executive order banning Muslims from 7 countries happened in 2017, she was really scared that she would be deported also, even though there was absolutely no reason why she should be. So, they say the Muslim ban is temporary, but I've decorated my home, she says. And what if they make us leave? I know, it sounds silly, but each painting I've chosen with such care. See this one? It's of a castle from a street artist in Salzburg. And my green leather couch made in Italy has the shape of my bottom, the leftmost cushion. And my killing rug from Turkey, after we bargained for 1 hour, the rug seller gave me a free nazar, evil eye amulet, and said, we all need it. Oh, we're fucked. But this is the 21st century. And what if my books and crooked piles, would they burn them? There are only a few that would be considered blasphemous. The next poem I'm going to read, it's after the cow vigilante attacks in India, where Hindu fundamentalists who consider the cow holy attacked Muslims that were suspected of having eaten beef. And there are a few Hindi Sanskrit phrases here. Satyamev Jayate, which is India's national motto and means truth alone triumphs. And Go Mata Ki Jai, which means hail the mother cow. So, Holy Cow Sonnet. If Our Lady of the Holy Bovine Order could speak, she would say, India, you've lost your way. She would say, where is our Satyamev Jayate? She'd lie on her side and offer all 4 teats, give the skin off her back with a side of beef. Go Mata Ki Jai, praise the cow that leads us astray. Come out, all zealots and play. Which type of meat did the Mussulman eat? Drag the sinner by his leather-clad feet and beat him till his last breath escapes. Become the world's largest exporter of beef, yet ban it within your own states. Suspicion of eating steak now trumps rape. The holy cow watches quietly and weeps. The next poem I have, it's after the Kashmir lockdown, which was imposed by the Indian government in the summer of 2019. And while the lockdown has loosened a bit, it still remains even during this pandemic. And it's a ghazal. Ghazal under siege. Like a thief, I'll sneak up from behind tonight, steal all your couplets and other words tonight. In that post office without a country, all your letters remain unread tonight. And under skies etched with barbed wire so silver, the stars wear crowns with thorns tonight. Make a wish on the lash of a valley, hope treading flesh like a rubber pellet tonight. No news is good news, they say. Mouths stuffed with apples they cannot harvest tonight. Prayers soft as cashmere float untethered on a lake full of boats that are moored tonight. The living, so silent, they're feared dead. Even though they're at home, they're not home tonight. Oh poet, make haste with your pen. Sing a song for the voiceless with this poem tonight. And there's one last poem that I have, and it's called Of the Missing 50 Million. According to statistics from the United Nations, there are 50 million more boys than girls under the age of 20 in India. Sex-selective abortions, despite being illegal in India, are often performed as boys are considered more desirable. Of the missing 50 million. In the celestial realm of abandoned girls, you will find all parts, tiny fingers and toes, thumbnail-sized hearts, silver anklets barely an inch wide, coal to ward off the evil eye, and tiny ovaries dotting the skies. Rupees 5,000 for a simple operation saves you a dowry of 50,000. For daughters are a father's burden, legs closed, mouths open, decked in red. When they are wed, we welcome the bride as Lakshmi, goddess of wealth, uttering blessings of them one. Putravati bhava, be the mother of a son. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Beautiful, just beautiful, Shikha. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Amos, would you like to introduce TUREEDA, or should I?
Please, that'd be great. TUREEDA MIKELL. TUREEDA MIKELL is a story medicine woman, award-winning poet and performance artist. And I've had the pleasure to perform with her at a couple different venues. She's absolutely spellbounding. She was featured poet storyteller at the National Association of Black Storytellers, the Lawrence Hall and Golden Gate Academy of Sciences, Museum of African Diaspora, Randall and Oakland Museums, the Black Panthers' 50th anniversary, Octavia Butler's 70th birthday, the Ethnotech Nuwa in Beijing, China, and at the De Young Museum's Soul of a Nation. Her book, Synchronicity, The Oracle of Sun Medicine, was published by Nomadic Press in February 2020. Please put your hands together in welcoming TUREEDA MIKELL.
Oh, I am so deeply honored. Oh my God. It's, you know, being an artist, being a poet is what helps us get through. And we also are in hopes that people can listen or just be inspired enough to write a poem so we can listen to them, because, you know, this is the new church, I feel. This is what's going on. Yes, Brother Antonio, I looked at the poem that I was going to read because I listened to what you said as well as others, and the brother that, Ambition, I'm still trying to deal with the foster care. I've written one, it's been published. Yeah, they, you know, and I'm an elder, so it's deep. But because I witnessed Oscar Grant get killed, because a friend of mine sent that video, from his life to his death. And this, to me, I just need to share this with you all tonight, because it's a combination of what I've heard tonight. And so I'm mocking the word of the criminal that I hear in my family's ears. We are your conquerors. Do what we say, not as we do. Remember, Black History Month is also Canine Dog Month. You're my dog. Sit when I tell you to sit. Heal when I tell you to heal. Speak when I tell you to speak. Roll over, run, fetch a gun, kill when I tell you to kill. I'm the subliminal criminal. Can't catch me. You do time for me in the penitentiary. Turn your family against you. You looking for your family? They're watching me. I'm their hero, their idol. Lost? Superman, Jesus saved the day. What you got to say? Blow a hole so deep in your ancestral memory, you'll want to quit. Disconnect your mind from your wit. Boxed in my ring, to me you sing, God bless America, KKK. Celebrating the Easter bun, hunting boiled dyed eggs. Here come Columbus Day, Halloween, trick or treat, wing you from the holy. Give you a holiday thanking me for getting your red relatives out the way. Yeah, stuffed turkey day, good, huh? Almost good as Christmas trees cut from their root. Cross nailed the stump, stolen past is how I celebrate you. To hell with a winter solstice, sun rebirth. Oh, holy night is my savior's birth. My word, my God, my religion, my idol sacrifice. My popes and priests do tricks for me. Fucks your sons, blesses my guns, my bombs, my wars, not yours. Supports me, my royalty. Where are your kings and queens? Nowhere to be seen. 500 plus years of what I see. Did my God save your people from swinging in the trees? Lynched you after church and went home and made soup from your balls. And you still on your knees giving head to my God. Yeah, my right, my might. Right or wrong, the 10 commandments is a get along, and I use none of them to get along with you. Treat neighbors as ourselves. NBA law of exclusion is my wealth. In God you trust me, not you. You paying attention? PTSD, hyped, ADHD, ADD, bipolar, crazy, in therapy? I'm the therapist. I control your will to chill. Train doctors to treat your ills. Teach pharmacists to make your pills. Kill your pain. Kill you. No responsibility here. Self-medicated, diabetic, high blood pressure, on dialysis, kidney failing nigga. Adrenals fright, a flight out of sight. I got you in jail or on ice for a price. Do or die, my property, my water, my dirt, and seed you buy from me. Where you eat, shit, sleep, and breathe. Cost of living is controlled by me. Homeless, rent paying, mortgage 9 times more than your principal. Credit? Want to buy more time? Time is running out. Time is mine. My values count, not yours. Want me? Want to be me? Feel like me? Buy Rolls Royce, Bentley, Jag, Lexus, Tesla, Mercedes Benz. I created them. You buy them from me. I socialize your scale, set your bail. My rules, my laws, not yours. What? You act like you don't. What? You my nigga, and you better act like you like it. You ain't smiling. Trying to fight it? Are you terrorizing me? Are you anti-me? You're under my jurisdiction. My penal codes afflict tongues. You hear, see, and speak from me. Educated bitch ass, master ass. Piled high, deeper ass. Shut up. Egypt is not in Africa, and Europe is a continent. You questioning me? Take your cultural heritage and PhD that shit, make you pay for it too. Pay me tuition for intuition. Fuck a first mind instinct. Thought it was your finger pulled the trigger? Got you hating yourself. Waste, annihilation, your fate, civil rights. Citizens don't need civil rights. You're not a citizen. You're a slave with an attitude. Confused? Cognitive, what? Yeah, cognitive dissident.
I manufacture your consent to repent, manufacture your world to be bent, colonize your mind for control, illusion of inclusion, damn your soul, you want my woman? Take her and she'll tame you for me. Clarence Thomas, Tiger Woods, Henry Louis Gates your ass. Have your woman wanting to look like mine too, because she wants you back. Bleaches her skin for that fair complexion. Hot comb, bone straight, flat line, her spiral kink, that for that healthy, silky look. Think she's prettier now. My human hair weave, wig wearing, multi-billion-dollar industry chemically burning her baby's head for me. Cancerous brain tumors and scalp lesions I breed in my frame, in my game on the 55-yard line, and I'm gaining yards on your ass. 3 football fields long from outer space, intergalactic station looking down on your case, electric magnetic static in your face, Bluetooth in your ear, tracks you in my sphere. You can't run from me. I'm a blue blood, cold as they come, and you singing the blues, huh? Do as I say, not as I do. Resistance is futile unless you want to kill more of you. I'm the invader raiding your behavior. The BART police who fired a gun thought a taser in your back while you laid still unarmed. Do I have your sympathy? Believe me, gave me less time than you for tax evasion and dog fighting, and I be killing you, nigga. 3/5 of a man, chaos the plan, my mafia, my banks, my monetary funds, my AMA, CDC, CIA, DOJ, FBI, FDA, FEMA, IMF, IRS, and WHO. Who? Not you. Homeland Security secures me. I stole you, created you. Mass market media, how I see you. Birth of a nation, nigga. King Kong, nigga. Everybody hates Chris, nigga. Baby Kid, every empire, Cookie, Little Kim, Mickey Minaj, scandalous Aunt Jemima, corner, football loving, bitch, you desert from me. Save my family, my woman, my children. Drive Miss Daisy, stepping fetid P Daddy, Snoop Dogg, 50 Cent, gangster loving, drunk, drugged out, wrapped in sheets, Q-tipped head, pants falling off your ass, light, bright, damn near white wigger. It's all good. I'm blessed and highly favored. Black nationalist, HNIC, doctor, lawyer, Indian chief, shamanic voodoo, Yoruba priest, serious black cosmic dust, organizing what you do, unifying collective truth. I'm scared of you, because if I were you, I know what I'd do to me.
Woo. Thank you. Thank you
And
very
the
much.
next one,
Oh, you got another one? Go ahead there.
oh, it's, do I have time?
Aileen?
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Okay, I wrote this one for the children because I was given the book Goldilocks to read quite often. And so I wrote a news report for Goldilocks. This is the BWYB News. Be watching your back. The Goldilocks cover up. This just in tonight. Goldilocks breaks in 3 Bears' home. 3 Bears charged Goldilocks, AKA the Golden Bandit, with illegal entry among several other crimes implicated early Tuesday morning. Witnesses say the intrusion took place just after the family left for a walk in the woods. It was stated when Golden Bandit knocked on the door and no one answered, she let herself in. Moments after alleged entry, a witness on the wings said, quote, I saw Bandit steal and consume Bear's food, vandalize the furniture, and sleep in baby Bear's bed, unquote. Investigators confirmed strands of blonde hair found in baby Bear's bed did match that of Golden Bandit. Further investigations proved that the fried chicken, cornbread, sweet potatoes, and collard greens found on soiled clothing of Golden Bandit was indeed taken from Bear's home day of alleged break-in. However, despite Evidence leaning heavily against Golden Bandit. Bandit stated, "When the bears arrived home from their walk in the woods, I feared for my life." A witness on the prowl confirmed Bandit's accusation, stating that he in fact saw Bandit flee from Bear's home, screaming repeated allegations of rape and attempted murder. Bandit's father, a Superior Court judge, stated he would prosecute the Bears to the fullest extent of the law and signed warrants for their arrest. Mr. and Mrs. Bear, held in Mad Polly Trick County Jail, sued Golden Bandit for illegal entry, theft, vandalism, loitering, and defamation of character. The Bears also sued for reparations they claim is due for injustices such as these reoccurring in their family's history for the past 500 plus years. Sadly, however, Child Protection Services have placed Baby Bear in foster care until courts can further decide whether or not Mr. and Mrs. Bear are fit parents to raise baby in a safe, healthy environment. That's it for tonight. This has been the BWYB News, saying we tell the truth about the fairies on your tail. Thank you.
Thank you, TUREEDA. Next up, we've got Al Mills. Al is the Poet Laureate of Delaware, as in the state of Delaware. He's a community-based social worker deeply rooted in the juvenile justice system. Mills has designed and led organizations that provide services for delinquent youth and their families. As a therapist, he serves Newcastle County, Delaware's multi-systemic therapy services. He is a certified ART therapist and takes pride in his efforts to utilize art as a tool for foundational change in youth, families, communities, and our society. He's a co-founder of GOALS, G-O-A-L-S, and SIA, S-Y-A, and SIA, S-Y-A, tutoring and mentoring programs in Wilmington, Delaware. He is also an honored Army vet who served in Iraq and speaks about his struggles with PTSD as a result of the war. Please welcome Al Mills.
Evening, poets. Truly an honor to be here. So blessed, beyond blessed to hear these words. You guys have truly touched me. Aileen and I were speaking before you guys got on, and I was telling I'm actually running for office right now. And I was out campaigning, and while you guys are reading, it just, for some reason, triggered me to remember an old poem I had about a politician coming to our neighborhood when we was young. So this is a piece of a poem that I wrote many moons ago, and it was about a politician coming to the neighborhood. Hi, I'm Senator so-and-so, or Representative such and such. I tell them how a vote for me will help them very much. Half-heartedly to their sob stories I listen. To them, I'm a big shot politician. I sow lots of false compassion, use unnecessary big words. I tell them a vote for me will give them a voice that was never before heard. I'll tell them I'll put more money in their community and walk in police on their streets. I make them promises I never could but never intended to keep. Who cares as long as it gets them to the polls next week? I pass out donuts and t-shirts and boxes of my pens. For 40 whole minutes, I pretend to be their friends. I lie through my teeth, but keep it brief as I walk these streets. Shake hands and quickly I disperse. Damn, I'm glad I only have to come here on the first. And during the day, I spend my day as a therapist. And you guys have, truly just, touched me in so many different ways. As, Ambition said something about to his therapist, and it just felt like me. I got to hear the other side of those questions from the answers, like, oh, that's what it sounds like to these kids. But I work with this one young man. A lot of my kids are truant, and when they aren't in the schools, I go to the house and find out why. And this one particular Monday morning, this young man had missed a lot of school and wasn't there. So he wasn't at the school. And so I'm on my way to his house. When I get to his house, he's on his way out the door. And I say to him, what your social worker is going to say to you, man, come on, today is Monday, not Sunday. Come on, what are you doing? Why you missing school? And he said, Mr. Mills, he said, Monday mornings in your house are a little bit different than mine. And then he went to tell me the tale of why he's still home. And my gift is to take this brief conversation with this 12-year-old and put it in words. So this is Monday morning. You see, Monday mornings in your house, a little bit different than mine. You see, Monday mornings in your house, you probably wake up your kids with a good morning sunshine and kiss them on their foreheads and help them make their beds. Your kids have a complete breakfast. Then they go back upstairs and brush, rinse, and floss, grab their bag lunches and skip off out to the garage. Here, I love you and have a great day as they get dropped off. But Monday mornings in my house is just a little bit different than yours because someone that travels home for the past few nights, my mom's got lost. Now, I haven't seen my mom's in like a day or two, and ain't no clean clothes and nothing to eat, so what am I supposed to do? I'm only 12 years old, and I ain't seen my mom all weekend. No, I'm not woken up. I know I love you, and all alarm clocks beeping, but rather my little sister standing in my doorway asking me what we gonna be eating. My little sister, she only 7, man. She don't know no better. She's still dressing those same dirty clothes she wore all last week, asking me what we gonna eat. I say, Mommy not here, man. Go ahead and go back to sleep. I got up around 11 while little sister was still asleep. I hit the corner store and stole us some noodles and chips to eat. Around then, Mom staggers back in for her long weekend. We barely looked up from our bowls, man. We just keep on eating. You see, this is Monday morning in my house, and love kept us silent, too afraid of the truth that might come out. Them unasked questions like, she don't ask us why we not in school, and we don't ask her where she been. She ain't even asked where those noodles came from. She just asked me to go in there and make her some. I said, it's not no more. Handed her my full bowl, and then I'm headed back out the door to the store to go steal some more. And then here you come asking me why I'm not in school, and I just say, Monday mornings in my house, a little bit different than yours. Thank you. And this next, the last piece I wanted to read, I don't often get to talk about, unless I'm talking to veterans, because America pretends to love heroes, but they don't love the scars that come with the heroes. They don't love the baggage. They don't, they don't really honor us and respect us. Saying thank you for your service is not enough. So this is for America and for all the veterans and everything we go through, waking up with the nightmares and all the things that we've been forced to do and the ugly side of war that nobody tells us. I was just trying to get some money for college, and I'm writing a trilogy of poems right now, and it's called I was just trying. My uncle gave me some money for school. My uncle gave me some money for school. That's what he did. But yes, indeed, I got some college money. But he sent me to Iraq as well. So this is something I've been struggling with and dying to write and dying to read. So this is thank you, poets, for listening. They suggested I was one of the lucky ones because I survived the encounter still breathing. But years later, my heart is still bleeding, my soul is still grieving. In the desert, just what did they do to Miss Mary's baby boy? Now they say it's post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Those are the letters they use to describe me. Because the silence of war rings in my ears years later, loud and clear. I'm tortured because after hearing a dead man's last scream, you can no longer return to being that innocent teen. Morally injured, leaves my innocent places in my heart are gone. Because morally, I know what I was doing was wrong. They made us in the shark and dropped blood into the water. So killing became fun, just numb to the slaughter. How do we know our final days or final words? What were they thinking? What were they doing before the final minutes of their lives occurred? I mean, it's a strange feeling being on foreign soil without a foreign person in sight. After what we did last night, I squeezed triggers and reloaded as things exploded. They said it was patriotic. Now they tell me I'm psychotic. How ironic. I squeezed my eyes tight, trying to bring my memories closer. But the negative is damaged due to overexposure. I'm unable to alter or Photoshop these images. They become scarred on my mind and become delusions that keep me in seclusion, traumatized by these cruel acts before my eyes. And sometimes I'm unaware that I'm not still there. I'm still struggling with all the dead kids, trying to understand why Sarge shot that person in the back of the head and got medals for it. But my soul ain't never been settled for it. And there are no isolated or random action war. The ones you murder today will torment your tomorrows. And the children's screams and tears still burn my eyes and ears as misguided men lead guided missiles, Scared teens tote M16 as cowards clutch their 45 pistols. They truly ruined some good sons with their bad, twisted logic and misguided lessons and loaded guns. Now daily I feel the agony I caused and endured. It greets me and defeats me sometimes before I can leave my own front door. My world is flipped, unable to write this shit. My days go into nights, wrong from rights, into an empty life, another ex-wife. The peace I'm searching for eludes me. A gun in my waistband, within reach of my nightstand usually. And at odd times, God still refuses to speak to me. Still angered by the foul deeds I've done. Sometimes he's too ashamed to call me his son. He still refuses to speak to me. And I remember when he glared at me with those angry eyes I'll never forget. And I knew exactly what he meant. They had no weapon, they were no threat. We could have just let him walk away. But instead he yells fire and we empty our clips. Now the devil grins. More bodies buried in the sand. The devil grins as the war ends. For now he knows the real war, the war in your mind is about to begin. He knows of the storms and the bad days to come. The demons from yesterday's deaths return as tomorrow's nightmares and flashbacks. And they real and I can feel them like the scar on my arm where they shot me up with that anthrax. They can't believe what we received. I still feel it in my bones deep. I get bad sleep. As soon as I drift off, I'm awoke. I smell smoke, I'm gasping for air, unable to breathe. I squeeze triggers, they said it was patriotic. Now they tell me I'm psychotic. I struggle to put the pieces of my life back together again. To be my mommy's baby boy, a son to my father, a brother to my twin. But 30 days later, he's all broken again. Morally corrupt, and now I pay the price. Fear, insomnia, nightmares at night. To live in the shadow of your own life. And this is what happens when you take innocent life. I squeezed triggers, they said it was patriotic. As things exploded and reloaded, they said it was patriotic. Now my doctor tells me I'm psychotic. How ironic, how ironic. Thank you. Thank you.
So we got Elijah Pringle III. Elijah's a Philadelphia poet, lyric, baritone, composer, actor, and artivist. He is the author of At the Cornerstone, Feeding the Sparrow, and Second Saturday at Serenity, and has appeared on radio, TV, and stage. He has been quoted in print in Newsweek, the New York Times, the Philadelphia Daily News, and others. He credits his true education to 5 generations of teachers. Please join me in welcoming Elijah. Thank you.
Okay, I hope everybody can hear me. Can you hear me? Thank you. I hate going this late in the program because what usually happens is I'm exhausted by all the brilliance that came before me. That was amazing. I feel so unworthy and greedily will accept what you all gave. Thank you so much. I'd like to do 3 poems. The first one is sort of a chant. The next one is a condemnation of myself and not being at the Million Man March. And then the last one is called The Loneliness, to lose your tongue. As familiar and as reoccurring as a flock of cliched, teethless similes that migrate from inscribed stones that fly back as unread Facebook posts. Nothing new, nothing new, nothing, says the sun to the satellite, and Sputnik and Luna just nod. Only the eyes that view do, only the eyes they lament. Self-suppression is a female with a member who unknowingly rapes herself. A shaftless male who makes a very foolish offering of self-suppression. This is our heresy, our history, recanted to unholy eunuchs and sterile virgins, as we look for new Jews to hate, Black men to emasculate, and Serbs to intimidate. Babble on, Babylon, conjuring us all, chant, burn the gypsies, burn all we see, more, not less, oppress the distress, with zeal and zest, pass out of those who pout and shout about their neck, their complaining tongues, rip out, and with limbs fold into oppression, and limbs mold into hatred. This ancient ritual, now instinctual, dickless men bleed a menstrual cycle for women plug in their barren birth canals. Oh yes, this is our familiar, coded on Druid stone in a universal idiom, chiseled into our consciousness. The last time I saw 1 million African American men, they were aimlessly being navigated through the institution, harassed, neglected, and ignored till it was time to fill the pens. Being herded and fattened with apathy as a constitution, never taken off to market, just left to rot on blocks, never even offered on market, just remaining behind locks. The last time I saw 1 million Black men, they were going through the jungles of Nam, facing annihilation, heading to Hanoi, to Cambodia, towards Ho Chi Minh, to Agent Orange, VD, and self-gratification, returning inept, insolent, insensible, insane, or in pine, welcomed with disdain and disgust, celebrating with dope and wine. The last time I saw 1 million Negro men, it was to willingly participate in the war to end all wars. Cooking, swabbing, marching, gunning, dying to believe in Horatio version of the American folklore, to preserve, protect, and defend, and hopefully obtain the realization of the 14th Amendment and the ending of chains. The last time I saw 1 million colored men, they were the fruits dangling from the springs in Missouri, twice captured, and now the victim of yet another mortal sin, cradled by nautical twine, bending limbs till blossoms fell gently, as opaque images tried to obscure the heavenly beam. Evil, shrouded in white mask, till the night brought the monstrous dream. The last time I saw 1 million nigger men, a tapestry of scars clothed their aspiration and defiance, callous palms and terracotta fingertips for their alleged sin, endless the harbors and the hallelujahs for deliverance. Hallelujah for deliverance. Hallelujah for deliverance. Making bitter not sweet, but palatable to the parousia. The day of rejoicing and sanctifying the glory. Hallelujah. 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 The last time I saw 1 million African men, sun never ever permeated the hall as they journeyed, eye to ankle, to head, to toe, to face, to foot, to chest, to shin, savagely set to sea, first civilization, first humanity, entombed, enchained, in coffers, inscribed, invoice, items to be received like cotton from Carolina or Jamaican rum. See, the last time I saw 1 million African men less me, they recapture freedom and Mandingo tradition, return order to the Amistad, an ordinance to St. Q, and have this vessel boarded Pedro Alonso Nino in its expedition, the shores of Sierra Leone would have been the port of all. Now I get it. Now I get it. Now I get it. If you had 1 million standing tall, they believe they could organize like Asa Philip Randolph, be defiant like Bayard Ruskin, endure like John Lewis, be conquerors like Colin Powell, survive to know we are men. The loneliness loneliness, the loneliness to lose your tongue, to not recognize the words that record your history, your bearings, no way to set forth the swarming, the thoughts, departed psyche, like flies buzzing over carcass, to be without the sound which allows you to sing about legends, yell out your imagining etched in the back of your eyelids. Without these ancestral words, you become mute, become deaf. Articulations of your travails are silent, and your children are orphans standing beside you, unable to be made brawny and brave by epic stories of triumph. No, they sat like the loneliness of a still tongue. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Elijah. Next, we're going to hear from is OCTAVIO Quintanilla. OCTAVIO is a professor of literature and creative writing at Our Lady of the Lake University and former poet laureate of San Antonio, Texas. OCTAVIO is the author of the poetry collection, If I Go Missing. His poetry, fiction, translations, and photography have appeared and are forthcoming in Salamander, Poetry Northwest, Rhino, and elsewhere. His visual poems have been exhibited in several galleries, including Cresa House Gallery, Equinox Gallery, and at the Southwest School of Art in San Antonio, Texas. He holds a PhD from the University of North Texas and is the regional editor for Texas Books in Review and poetry editor for the Journal of Latina Critical Feminism and for Voices de la Luna, a quarterly literature and arts magazine. Please join me in welcoming OCTAVIO.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Aileen, for inviting me. It's been a great experience, powerful experience to hear all of you, all your work. And yeah, I feel the same as Elijah, who said that, you know, when you read this late in the program, you kind of don't feel like reading anymore because, you know, everybody blew your mind. But I'll read a few poems anyway. It's going to be new work, and it's going to be two poems, but one of them, I'm going to read a translation of it in Spanish. Just the first poem is called Line and Metaphor. How a line begins doesn't have to be understood by the senses. To follow a line means that you're often unsure of how to trace it back to the beginning. Your senses are composed of straight lines, or jagged lines, or barbed wire. A page limits how far a line travels. A page never limits how far a line travels. When someone points to the sky, I see the straight line that will take me straight to heaven. When someone points to the ground, I see the lines on my mother's forehead. I used to think as a straight line. Now I sense it can turn into a triangle, or it can square itself into a box. A line of poetry can darken with invisible skies. A line without letters is poetic. I like lines without letters making words, making poetry. Some will call it silence. A line is the breath of someone crossing a river. Sometimes two lines living in two different countries never intersect. Sometimes they do. If they do, Not once do they stop ceasing to be lines trailing the trajectory of their lives. I'm not sure about this last claim, but for now, I am following this particular line of thought. Writing requires me to follow a line that is different from drawing or painting. I'm trying to hold the line that keeps all of me in one piece. I'm trying to erase the line that keeps all of me in one piece. If this were a poem, I would encourage you to add a line to it. Who's to say this is not a poem? Sometimes when I begin to draw a line, the shadow it begins to cast is human. Sometimes when I begin to draw a human, I run out of lines. I've always liked drawing or watching someone draw the number sign to play tic-tac-toe. Once, instead of drawing two vertical lines crossed by two horizontal lines, I drew this. I lost that game. When I begin to draw a line, I know it'll be a journey to an answer I'll never find. Someone will say, maybe drawing a line is a journey to a question. I think the above metaphor evokes a line as possibility. Remember, to begin a line doesn't always mean you'll find your way home. So that was the first poem. It's brand new, so I'm kind of, still trying to find that rhythm. And this is the first time I read it, so. The second poem that I'm gonna read, it's from a 40-page poem that I wrote last summer and that I just translated to English. I wrote it in Spanish. And the original manuscript is called Las Horas Imposibles, The Impossible Hours. And I wanna read a couple of little excerpts from it. I ask God to give me your pain. I ask him to give me your dark thoughts that take you by the hand towards the riverbank. You no longer have words for the world, and the world keeps its silence. My God, bless me with the pain of others. Give me my neighbor's cancerous tattoo. Gift me the undocumented mother's fear. She whose light burns out like the sun's behind the horizon when she sees a border patrol truck. My God, make my day bright by giving me the sadness and the anguish of that child who has been separated from her parents. As a child, I know how it feels to not have a father. And as a father, I know how it feels to be separated from a child. Lord, bless me with my mother's chronic illness and with the terror she feels when one of her children steps out into the night. Others have asked you this, Lord, but I ask you again to choose me as jester for your entertainment. I'll make you laugh, make you cringe, slang you. This is how it dies. This is how you die, Lord. It's not a plea. It's my desire to kiss the skull of your mouth. I don't have the strength to lift the infinite of what dies. Do you? And I'll end my reading with a translation, or the original Spanish. That was the translation. De las horas imposibles. Le pido a Dios que me dé tu dolor. la enfermedad que pesa en tu alma como ladrillo. Que me dé tus pensamientos oscuros que te llevan de la mano hacia la orilla del río. Ya no tienes palabras para el mundo y el mundo guarda su silencio. Dios mío, bendíceme con el dolor ajeno. Regálame el tatuaje canceroso de mi vecina. Regálame el miedo de la madre que no tiene papeles. Ella que se apaga con el sol tras el horizonte cuando ve una patrulla fronteriza. Dios mío, alégrame el día con la tristeza y la angustia de ese niño que ha sido separado de sus padres. Yo sé cómo se siente y también sé cómo se siente ser separado de un hijo. Señor, bendíceme con la pulmonía crónica de mi madre y con el terror creciente cuando uno de sus hijos sale a la calle. Otros ya te han pedido lo mismo, Señor, y te ordeno que aniquiles lo maldito de este mundo. Así se muere, Señor. Así te mueres, Señor. No es súplica. Es el deseo de besar la calaca de tu boca. No tengo la fuerza para levantar lo infinito de lo que muere. La tienes tú. Thank you all.
Thank you. We now are going to hear from last Gentle Ramirez. Gentle is a trans non-binary poet from the Bronx. They, them, were a 2020 Levo Fellow and recipient of the Oluwatoyin Salua Freedom Fighters Grant in 2020. Gentle's work has been featured in NY United, Bryant Park Poetry, West 10th, Poet NY, Write About Now Poetry, and more. Gentle is a BA candidate at New York University and most recently the author of their first book, Ultram, put out on KDP in 2018. Please join me in welcoming Gentle.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all so much. Thank you, poets, for sharing your magic on this Thursday evening. Thank you all for whoever's tuning in to sticking through with this conference. And it has been amazing to hear your all's work and to be here with you all this evening. So I have a couple of pieces, but before I get started, I wanted to offer a couple of trigger warnings. I will be talking about gender dysphoria, Black while trans, and reclamation of a couple of slurs. So I just wanted to put that out there before I begin. So this first poem is titled On International Lesbian Day After Oompa. Some days, a Black dyke boy from the Bronx is all I am. Always considered last minute and always alone. Left-handed, left unseen and unheard of everywhere. Missing from literature, home, and their own body. A Black dyke boy is invisible. Born with a call, a superpower turned curse, walks around phantom and is ignored each lifetime and after. A Black dyke ghost is a joke, haha, walks into a bar, introduces their pronouns before they say their name and is still called she. Bartender says, sorry, says, I forgot, never, I forgot to deconstruct my cultural conditioning while I was mixing the martinis. Bartender turns into bouncer and keeps me out of the Black community. Tells me my ID does not match my sex assigned at birth. Tells me that matters. Tells me if I weren't trans, I could stay, but the space is reserved for cishet bitches only. No transgender, dysphoric, they, them, theirs allowed. That I should have read the happy hour sign. Black people join in the fight for privilege, and that's why a Black dyke boy never wanted to turn 18, let alone live it all with their skin as lonely. Always seeking refuge, always had to rescue their damn self, stay hunted and hunted, got more bills than they do years left, or tears left. This Black dyke boy knows loneliness by smell and cradles it. Walks on prednisone, anything to stay afloat, bites Prozac, ready to withstand another flashback and loves pussy. deep enough to cave into the future and not even see it like sleep. Black dyke boy knows everything but their own peace. Thank you. That's my first one. This next one is titled I Pledge Betrayal. It is after the Pan-African Pledge of Allegiance, which I will read now before I get into that poem. We pledge allegiance to red, black, and green, our flag, the symbol of our eternal struggle, and to the land we must obtain, one nation of Black people with one God of us all, totally united in the struggle for Black love, Black freedom, and Black self-determination. I pledge betrayal. I pledge allegiance to myself for this body, and to my transcestors and transdescendants who will never hear this poem. I pledge to be thankful for all it can do and all it cannot. I pledge to feed you when you are hungry, and to hold you unconditionally. And to gender dysphoria, I know you'll choke. Right hand on the Bible, I've been force-fed lies about this body and told those lies were liberty. I tell you, I drowned in a baptism pool with everyone to witness, my skin not even my own. I was made feminine before I was made free. And so, I've been chasing this exodus, this justice, my masculinity for my own name's sake. I pledge allegiance to my body and to the liberation for which it stands, to Black trans people domestically and abroad for all the godlikeness in us. I pledge betrayal to gender. I say, fuck it. What has it ever done for me, or Black folk for that matter? The history of hysterectomies and gynecology tell us that gender is a white people's concept if it tells you nothing else. And so, I tell you, I got no interest in propelling colonization, that Black little kids can be boys and girls and neither if they say so, that being non-binary got nothing to do with womanhood, and the most unprotected person in America is the Black trans woman. Imagine what Black people could build as one body. We'd be indivisible, fighting for reparations with love and peace for all. So a little bit about me. I am a rising junior at NYU. I just completed my creative writing course load in the creative writing department with my minor. And I had a piece that I wanted to share that was a part of my manuscript. So this one is titled, I Know Pain, I Birthed the Damn Thing. I am trapped by oppressive heat, intruders, illusions, trapped in my trauma and trapped in my body. And this isn't a poem, it is my reality. Whether I am nailed down and doubled over on a twin XL mattress, witnessing the world's end for the 4th time this week, or winning first place at a poetry slam, I am suffering. Oftentimes, I wish my head roll off my shoulders so that my body can shower in love and feel it, so that my body can attend class. But PTSD isn't just baggage. This shit is a dementor ready to swallow me whole, sting me, tase me, make my head stuck and cemented on my neck. I know pain. I birthed the damn thing, cradled it. I like to think then that parallel universe me, or the wildest dream I have of my descendants are doing just fine, that every wish isn't an ice cube swallowed whole, that they don't have genders, that they have never known Prozac weight, have never known anger, nor had the wind knocked out of their lungs, have never been kicked in the chest or stomped on. I like to imagine alien me, back at home where the sun never leaves and the trees never shake, and the sky never sets, isn't chronically ill, doesn't ever forget to take their medication on purpose by accident. I like to write poems about being happy where the word imagine never comes up, where I don't have to imagine my happiness, where I just live it, where I am just happy, where the poem mentions less beckoning of the sun, but I am the sun and people don't need me to burn out. The laws don't require violence, and neither does the revolution. And being called human is the hardest dagger no one needs to throw. Gender-free and genderless, I like to think that's what we have in common. That gentle number 2 is happy and cherishes the time they've wrapped around their partner, tangled limbs, and spilling into each other. And now I'm going to just read this quick poem about, I think ambition inspired me to share this piece about Black. What does it mean to be Black? And I wrote, it's a 2-part piece. So part 1 is a tour of the solar system. We begin and end at the moon, friends. Swamped and swimming in blackness, these celestial bodies hurling in order remind us, in case you forgot, that when God said, let there be light, Black people were here before that and will be here after. No matter how hard we try to destroy the moon, its cycle on fulfillment and destruction is a damn testimony that in that same manner, Black people, social movements, and the poor cycle between hope and helplessness. Despite how hard gravity tries to destroy the moon, despite how hard capitalism tries to destroy Black people, we rise every goddamn night without fail, glowing, never surrendering, always showing up, always showing love. Our first stop on this tour is the sun. Up in this Milky Way galaxy, the sun is the centralized military spending where just another slight tear in the ozone layer will turn us back into clay quick. That sun, that military spending can kill us before we learn to say omnicide, and yet America tests the sun, know its power, know its heat, knows the consequences of centralized military spending and ignores the warnings. America won't wear masks. What makes us think that they'll wake up to the notification that the United States fascist government will make it collapse on itself? The same way it hurts to look directly at the sun is the same way it hurts to see the truth, that the United States must get out of the Middle East, stop the war on terror, and stop the domestic war on the poor right here. Sunsets are simple, but the moon controls all bodies of water. The moon, able to bring a low tide up, able to bring out the poor and working class together to redefine the structures of society. And ain't that why dark skin looks blue under the moon, ready to swell, boil over, and survive generations to the point where time no longer matters. Part 2. Waiting on racism to end is waiting for Jesus to return, AKA death to America. And they say we ended racism, that Jesus returned just to see it. And witnesses finally believed Jesus isn't the only one able to perform miracles. And they asked how, and I say together, me and my trans, me and my queer, me and my Black selves, we got. We today blasted our favorite song and danced, looked for a way out and found it, held myself as a nurturer would, mourned for another person I did not know, mourned at the frequency that happens. There is no way to make a virtual funeral sound poetic, nor a viral funeral, and so I won't. I will tell them the story of the time I did not need my grief to be inspiring. And I wrote this to remind myself that I am among the living, to be tenderly loving to myself as I live some more. Thank you all for listening. And I hope
Thank you, Chantal. Thank you so much. Before I introduce our final reader, I would like to thank our phenomenal guests this evening: MEERA DASGUPTA, GREER NAKADEGAWA-LEE, JOSIAH Luis Alderete, April J. Armstrong, Bernard Collins, Shanelle, Gabriel, Ambition the Poet Harper, Antonio Lopez, SHIKHA MALAVIYA, TUREEDA MIKELL, Albert Mills, Elijah Pringle III, OCTAVIO Quintanilla, Gentle Ramirez, and finally, Amos White. Thank you so much for your time and for generously sharing your words. I'd like to ask our viewers that if you enjoyed our event tonight, please support our poets by purchasing their works. Links to their websites and projects have been posted on our Facebook event page. And now, please welcome back Amos White, founder and chief planner at 100,000 Trees for Humanity, author, poet, civil rights activist, father and husband based in Alameda, California. Welcome back, Amos.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Wow. 5 poets ago, people were saying how they don't want to follow what came before. And yeah, I can't do cleanup after this powerful reading. Thank you all for your words, for your images, to reimagine a landscape from where you are. It really means a lot, so thank you. I'm gonna start off with something for a little historical context. It's remembering Michael Brown. 5 years ago today, when hashtag became identity, Black parents banned hoodies. Race became impolitic. Black men caught blue-leaded 40s with one-way inscribed casings. When bias became MO, Black students got body slammed. Voice became scream. Black staycations meant safer, with press-collared shoulder glances. When grief became breakfast, Black boys lost. Hands up became protocol. Black pools laid unmoved or covered with no shroud on Campfield Drive. When 5 years ago became today, Black lives shun apology. Memory becomes a rose. Black pews will gather dust when the hearse idles weekdays. For the present, we can reimagine our future. We can reimagine a future where our institutions respond to our most vulnerable's needs instead of criminalizing them. We can reimagine a world where justice is a mental health care knock at the door with a name tag for a badge. We can reimagine painting our own sidewalks with hearts and slogans and being called on by our neighbors for coffee and tea. We can reimagine the sound of slumber and waking in the peace of morning in our own bedroom, curtains blowing. We can reimagine seeing them tumbling to the ground, falling off the park slide to roll right up and climb it again and again and again. We can reimagine a future because we have seen it there in the multicolored hues of community. I want to leave you with a string of haiku. Called The Big Zen. A puddle, sheep dream in a clear blue sky. One breath, again, I am. Cobra, I bow into mind.
The swirl of cool air, the collapse of stars. Another first breath. Om. The mind untethers. Adrift, the hush uncoils me. Om. A thread of light. In the temples, the low hum of sunrise. Thank you.
It was amazing. Whew.
Thank you. Eileen, you're muted. I just want to thank you. I know Eileen's not talking. She wants me to close out with everything. I want to thank you all for being here. I want to stay in touch with so many of you. It's so good to see people from around the nation and around the world and hear your voices and to really bring yourselves here. And I really want to thank Aileen for bringing us together and for holding this space, and for all of you for just literally just giving it up tonight. I do want to shout out to GREER, who I didn't get a chance to shout out to before. I've watched this young lady grow from 10 years old, reading with her mentor and poet, a good friend of mine, John, and really good to see you here. And for all the rest of you, thank you so very much. And stay creative, stay creative. These aren't dark times. These are not dark times. Stay creative. It's our words, which are light, that brings the rest of them along. So stay creative. Thank you very much.
Good night, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aileen.
Thank you so much, everyone. Please vote in November. And Delaware, please vote for Albert Mills.
Yes.
Yes. Al.
Thank you, everyone. Great to hear all of it.
Great poetry.
Good night, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank
you
all. Last night.
GREER, you're amazing.
Yeah, these young people are crazy good. They're crazy good, these young people.
Right, Elijah?
I said the young people are just crazy good. I'm glad that I lived long enough to hear some of these people. So I'm gonna have to live another 60 years. I just have to.
Well, April made me change my poem.
Seriously.
April, you dragged that poem out of me.
Oh. I'm glad I could be here
too. Read that poem. Pulled it out of my soul.
All right, y'all. I gotta jump to another reading, but y'all stay real.
MEERA, you're a superhero.
Here, everybody, be safe.
Be safe. Good night, everyone. I will email you also. We have each other's email address.
That would be awesome. Thank you so much, Aileen. Thank you, everybody.
So much, everyone.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. You guys are all amazing.
Thank you so much. It was great.
Here, I emailed you back.
Definitely amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Oh, so good. So good.
Everybody was great.
Everybody here was just like mind blowing. This is great. I'm gonna go home and write all night. Let's go home. Write all night. I forgot. I'm home. I'm gonna write all night. Thank you so much. So inspired. Good night.
Good night.